Hey there, friend. Have you ever noticed that some days your joints feel a little stiffer than they used to? Or maybe you've been feeling more tired lately. Even though you're getting enough sleep, you're not alone. In fact, a lot of us over 70 start wondering, is this just part of getting older? Well, today I want to share something that might surprise you. What if I told you that some of the very medications you're taking to feel better could actually be speeding up the aging process? Now, before we go any further, let me be clear. I'm not a doctor, and I'd never tell you to stop taking a medication without consulting yours. But here's the thing, knowledge is power. And when it comes to staying healthy, vibrant, and independent as we age, it's worth asking questions. That's why today, we're diving into 4 common medications that accelerate aging after 70. We'll talk about why they can be problematic, what to watch for, and most importantly, what you can do about it. Let's start with medication you probably heard of, maybe even have in your cabinet right now. Number 1, proton pump inhibitors or PPIs. These are the little purple pills many of us take for acid reflux or heartburn. Drugs like omeprazole or esomeprazole. Now, don't get me wrong, they're great at calming that fiery feeling in your chest. But here's the catch. Long-term use can interfere with your body's ability to absorb nutrients like magnesium, calcium, and vitamin B12. And guess what happens when you're low on those? Weak bones, fatigue, even nerve damage. All things that can make you feel decades older than you are. So what can you do? First, talk to your doctor about whether you truly need to be on a PPI every day. Sometimes, simple lifestyle changes, like eating smaller meals, avoiding spicy food before bed, or propping up your pillow, can work wonders. If you do need medication, ask about alternatives like H2 blockers. Famotidine is one, which are gentler for long-term use. And here's a tip. If you're taking a PPI, pair it with a high-quality multivitamin to fill those nutrient gaps. Your future self will thank you. Number 2, benzodiazepines. Medications like lorazepam, diazepam, or alprazolam. These are often prescribed for anxiety or trouble sleeping, especially after stressful life changes. And in the short term, they can be a lifeline. But here's the problem. Studies show that long-term use in older adults is linked to memory issues, increased risk of falls, and even a higher chance of developing dementia. Why? These drugs slow down your central nervous system, which affects balance, coordination, and clarity, almost like walking through fog. And over time, that fog can thicken. Now, if you've been relying on these for years, don't panic, but do have an open conversation with your doctor. There are safer alternatives for sleep, like cognitive behavioral therapy, or even natural supplements like melatonin, though always check with your doctor first. For anxiety, mindfulness practices, or gentle yoga can work wonders. The key here is to taper slowly under medical supervision. Never stop cold turkey. You know, I once talked to a viewer named Margaret who'd been on benzos for a decade after her husband passed. She said switching to evening walks and a guided meditation app gave her back the mental sharpness she thought she'd lost forever. Small changes, big results. Now, we've covered 2 medications today, but there are 2 more that deserve your attention. Medications you might not even realize are affecting your vitality. And trust me, the next one on our list, it's something millions of seniors take every single day. So grab a cup of tea, settle in, and let's keep this conversation going. All right, friend, let's pick up where we left off. Remember that medication I mentioned, the one millions of seniors take every day? Well, here it is. Number 3, anticholinergics. Now, that's a mouthful, but you might recognize these by their common uses. They're an over-the-counter allergy pills like diphenhydramine. You know, the ones that make you drowsy, and even some prescription medication for bladder control or muscle spasms. They work by blocking a chemical called acetylcholine, which helps your brain communicate with your body. Sounds harmless enough, right? But here's the catch. As we age, our brains produce less acetylcholine naturally. When you add a medication that blocks it further, studies show it can lead to memory fog, confusion, and even increase the risk of dementia over time. Let me put it this way. Imagine your brain is a busy post office. Anticholinergics are like closing down half the mail routes. Suddenly, messages get delayed or lost altogether. That's why so many folks on these medications report feeling out of it or struggling to recall names. And it's not just the brain. These drugs can cause dry mouth, which might sound minor, but it actually raises your risk for cavities and gum disease. And healthy teeth? They're crucial for staying independent, enjoying good food, and keeping your confidence up. So what's the solution? First, check your medicine cabinet. If you're taking anything PM for sleep or an allergy med that makes you groggy, look for diphenhydramine on the label. Talk to your doctor about safer alternatives. For example, a newer generation allergy pill like loratadine doesn't have the same brain dampening effects. For bladder issues, physical therapy, or even simple pelvic floor exercises can sometimes work better than pills. And if you're using these for sleep, well, let's just say there's a reason my friend Bob switched to chamomile tea and a white noise machine. He says he wakes up feeling sharper than he has in years. Now, on to number 4, corticosteroids. These are the heavy hitters. Drugs like prednisone or cortisone, often prescribed for inflammation, asthma, or arthritis. And in a flare-up, they can be absolute miracle workers. But here's the rub. When used long-term, they can accelerate aging in ways you might not expect. They break down muscle tissue, thin your skin, and weaken bones. All things that make you more fragile over time. I've heard from so many viewers who say, I used to garden every day, but now my wrists feel like glass. Or, I bruise just bumping into the counter. Sound familiar? The science is clear. Corticosteroids interfere with collagen production, which keeps your skin springy and joints cushioned. They also leach calcium from your bones, setting the stage for osteoporosis. And muscle loss? That's a fast track to losing independence. Because strong muscles aren't just for lifting grandkids. They keep you balanced, mobile, and resilient. But don't lose hope. If you're relying on these meds for chronic pain or inflammation, ask your doctor about low-dose options or topical creams that target the problem area without flooding your whole system. Pair this with strength training. Yes, even seated exercises with light weights to rebuild muscle. And don't forget vitamin D and calcium. A daily walk in the sunshine and a yogurt parfait can do wonders. You know, I once met a woman named Rose who'd been on prednisone for years after a back injury. She switched to a combination of aquatic therapy and turmeric supplements under her doctor's guidance. It took time, but she told me, I finally feel like myself again, not just a pile of brittle bones. Now, I know this can feel overwhelming. Maybe you're sitting there thinking, asterisk, but I need these medications. How else will I manage my pain? My sleep? Asterisk. And that's exactly why I want you to have these conversations with your doctor. It's not about quitting cold turkey. It's about finding safer, smarter ways to care for your health. Because you deserve to feel vibrant, strong, and fully alive at any age. And here's the good news. Knowledge truly is power. By understanding how these medications interact with your body, you're already taking the first step toward reclaiming your vitality. But there's one more piece to this puzzle, a simple, proactive strategy that can help you navigate any medication safely. It's something I wish every senior knew. Friend, we walked through 4 medications that might be quietly working against your vitality. PPIs, benzodiazepines, anticholinergics, and corticosteroids. But here's what I want you to remember. This isn't about fear. It's about awareness. And awareness gives you the power to make choices that honor the life you want to live. So let's talk about what comes next. How do you take this information and turn it into action? It starts with a simple habit I call the medication check-in. Once a year, maybe around your birthday or a favorite holiday, schedule a sit-down with your doctor or pharmacist. Bring every pill, supplement, and over-the-counter remedy you're taking, even the ones you've used for years. Ask them 2 questions. Asterisk, is this still necessary? Asterisk and asterisk, is there a safer alternative? Asterisk, you'd be amazed how often prescriptions outlive their purpose or newer, gentler options become available. Take my neighbor, Frank. He'd been on the same acid reflux meds for 15 years, convinced they were the only solution. At his check-in, his doctor switched him to a short-term course of H2 blockers and taught him diaphragmatic breathing for stress-related heartburn. Now, he's off PPIs completely and even started a Tai Chi class. Small steps, big wins. Another tip, track how you feel. Keep a little notebook by your bedside or use your phone's notes app. Jot down things like, took allergy pill at noon, felt foggy all afternoon, or asterisk, skipped sleep aid last night, slept better than expected. Asterisk patterns will emerge. Maybe that muscle relaxant isn't just causing dry mouth. It's making you too dizzy to enjoy morning walks. This isn't about blaming medications. It's about partnering with them. And here's a phrase I want you to practice. Asterisk. What else could we try? Asterisk, so often we assume our doctors have all the answers, and they're incredible resources. But they're not mind readers. If a medication is causing side effects that chip away at your quality of life, speak up. You might say, asterisk, I've heard anticholinergics can affect memory. Is there another option for my bladder issues that's easier on my brain? Asterisk or asterisk, this steroid helps my arthritis, but I'm worried about my bones. Can we add a bone density scan to my next checkup? Asterisk, remember Rose, the woman who swapped prednisone for aquatic therapy? It was an overnight fix. She started with tiny changes. 10 minutes in the pool twice a week, a teaspoon of turmeric in her oatmeal. But those small yes added up. Last month, she sent me a photo of her hiking a trail she'd sworn was off limits years ago. That's the power of asking. Asterisk, what else? Asterisk. Now, I won't sugarcoat it. Navigating medications as we age can feel like walking a tightrope. You need relief from pain, sleep, or anxiety, but you don't want to trade one problem for another. That's why your healthcare team is so important. And yes, I said team. Your doctor, pharmacist, a trusted loved one who joins appointments. Aging well is a solo act. Let me leave you with this. Every medication you take should earn its place in your life. If it's not helping you live fully, gardening, traveling, laughing with grandkids, it's worth revisiting. You deserve more than just managing. You deserve thriving. So, what's one step you'll take this week? Maybe it's scheduling that medication check-in, or swapping out a late-night sleep aid for a lavender-scented pillow spray, or even just writing down how your prescriptions make you feel. Progress over perfection. Always. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Have you ever adjusted medication and noticed a positive change? Share your story in the comments below. Let's learn from each other. And if this resonated with you, hit that like button and subscribe. We're all in this together, figuring out how to live our boldest, brightest lives, no matter the number on the birthday cake. Until next time, remember, your health is your greatest adventure. Let's make a good one.